This is fun. The FU Network.
Tom Green and I are sort of brothers from another mother, as we were both loosed upon the world from the same metaphorical womb, cable access TV. Tom has gone on to create an iconic TV show, memorable movies, and now tours across North America with his stand-up comedy show. And Tom's internet show was a forerunner of all these online shows every putz and his brother have started doing from their homes, with one exception. Tom's was actually good. And today we're talking to... Wait a minute, why do people always say we're? I'm talking to him, you just get to watch. And like Sharon Stone said in Sliver, you like to watch, don't you? Oh, good God, I'm quoting Sharon Stone movies. I've been inside for way too long. Joining us from his LA home, here's my buddy, Tom Green. Tom, how you doing, man?
Ed, great to be on the show. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to talk to a Canadian legend.
Well, I'm doing the exact same thing. So let's get the obligatory crap out of the way. How are you handling the COVID-19 thing? How are you handling the self-isolation? How has it affected you? Blah, 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 blah.
Well, I'm here at home in Los Angeles. I've been podcasting, actually. I've been passing the time by podcasting, and you were nice enough to call into my podcast. It's a strange time. I am really hoping that we can get through this quickly, and we'll just see what happens. I feel really bad for everybody that's been affected by this, far worse than I have. I haven't gotten sick, or nobody's sick in my family yet, so we're just kind of praying and hoping for the best for everybody out there who's dealing with this.
You know, it's almost like there's a script that everybody follows, which says pretty much exactly that exact same thing.
Well, it's just a nice thing to say, Ed.
Well, I understand that. It's just like it's gotten to the point where it's become banal because everybody means it. It's sincere, but everybody says the same damn thing. So
okay, well, just forget I said it then.
Looks like a lovely home you have there. Does that fireplace really work?
It does, yeah, absolutely.
And you got the Senator's shirt signed on the thing. What's that movie poster? People are going to want to know.
Got the Ottawa Senators, Go Sens Go.
Yeah.
From Ottawa, of course. I've got my Freddie Got Fingered movie poster on the wall.
Freddie Got Fingered.
Yeah. And this is from the Bum Bum song when I went to number one on MTV. Song I made. There's my Rolling Stone cover. I don't have a lot of magazine covers and stuff on my wall, but I do like to keep that one up because I make music in this room and I just think it's kind of cool. And then I have the Road Trip poster as well, which was the first sort of big movie I did after my show was on MTV. Todd Phillips actually wrote and directed that as his first movie, and he's gone on to do all the Hangover movies and Joker, and had a hugely successful, of course, Todd Phillips. That was his first big studio movie. So I'm in the studio right now. I can show you my studio. I've just actually been building it myself. I've got my lights here. I've got some cool television switcher equipment. You know, you love the television broadcast.
Wait. What are those latex busts? What the hell is that? What
I
in
got
hell?
my weird heads, got my weird masks, and
why is that in your studio? Like, why? That's not an essential part of the equipment. Why is that there? That's freaking me out.
That's why it's there, to freak you out, Ed. I wanted to freak you out.
I mean, what are you, like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible? Do you wear that as a disguise when you go out?
You know, I don't think it's really the right time or place for me to say what I do with the masks, but.
Okay. Let's move on then. Now listen, do you run into people who expect you all the time to be crazy Tom Green, that zany Tom Green from 10, 15 years ago? Because, you know, I run into people, they say, hey, do you have the hot tub? It's like, that was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. If you get the same thing, people expecting you to be exactly who you were all those years ago when you started out?
You know, the thing is actually all those years ago, I was still like this when I wasn't performing, as far as in character, I guess you would say, in the character of crazy, wild, and wacky Tom Green, that was a character. And then I have my real self too. I always put the show together. I was always involved in sort of the technical aspects and writing it and all of that. And then when the camera would come on, I would go a little nuts. Sometimes when I do an interview with someone like yourself, who is hilarious sock, such as yourself, I like to kind of be more the normal Tom and just have a conversation. And I always feel like comedy is good when there's a straight and a zany approach to it. So I'll let you be the zany one on this interview, and I'll be normal Tom. You've always been pretty zany. I grew up watching you. not to date you, but when I, not to that sounded weird. I would consider dating you, actually.
Yeah, we'll talk later.
But growing up watching you on Much Music was very inspiring, because when I was a kid growing up in Ottawa, and I don't know how old I was when you first came on. What year did you come on Much Music?
94.
I was probably 20 years old, or what was I, 23 years old or something like that. And hadn't started the Tom Green Show yet, but I just loved seeing you being hilarious and being edgy and bringing sort of a shit disturber element to television. We talked about them in my podcast earlier. And you also had your co-host Eric Tunney, who
the great Eric Tunney.
I was just a huge fan of Eric Tunney. He was one of my big inspirations when I was a kid, starting out doing stand-up at Yuck Yucks, when he was one of my favorite stand-ups ever. So it was I really loved your show, and always have loved what you do. So.
Well, thank you very much. You ever get the thing where you're at a urinal and someone comes up next to you and recognizes you and starts talking to you about your show and stuff like that and says, hey, do something zany or something? It's like, hey, I'm just taking a leak, for crying out loud. People don't know how to, because Tom Green, the crazy character, and Tom Green, the real person, share the same name. So some people don't recognize that that's the person they saw on TV all those years ago and, doing the zany stuff before he started doing the touring. That's a character. It's an aspect of you, but it isn't you. Do you ever get that, people at the urinal?
It happens at the urinal, yeah, sometimes. I mean, to clarify, like when I'm on stage doing stand-up, I'm as outrageous and energized as ever, right? So it's sort of a different thing sometimes when I do an interview and we just conversate about things, I like to just kind of lay back. But when my stand-up shows, my podcast, there's a lot of different versions of me, I guess.
Now, your comedy has obviously, it's changed, right? It's not the same as it was. You're not freeze-dried in like 1998. As you've grown, your comedy has grown. Do you find that? Because Stern, his comedy is very different now than it was then. What I do now is different than what I did 10, 15 years ago. What you do is obviously, you said you're still zany, but it's got to be different than what it was, right?
It's funny. It's always evolved. Every year it evolved or changed or devolved or just changed. And so people always have said, hey, you're doing something different now than you were last year. I did an internet show for a few years. I'm doing stand-up. I've done films. And so everything's different, and it's always changing. But sometimes people have a first memory or something that they remember you doing, and they think, oh, that's going to be burned in their head as what you're always going to do. But I like to do different stuff. So my podcast, for example, I have a lot of great comedians on, and I actually sort of lay back and actually am more of an interviewer and have some real conversations with people. I just had you on the show. I just had also another Canadian, Classified, the rapper Classified was
right
on, and we talked about his music and his 18 albums. I like having a good sort of a broadcast type conversation on my podcast. Yeah.
Do you ever get anybody saying, oh, come on, Tom, you sold out. You're not the same old Tom. They want you to stay forever, 20 years ago?
I mean, they don't say that when they come to my comedy show, because when they come to my stand-up show, they just saw I'm actually more outrageous when I do stand-up than I was 20 years ago. It's so people are excited to see that.
I can't imagine how that's more outrageous. What do you bring? You actually bring a cow on the stage?
When you're in a room and you're seeing a performance, a very high energy performance, I do a lot of improv with the crowd. I talk about a lot of subjects that are meaningful to people, and it really connects with people in a way differently than on television, where you're really in a room and you're really just kind of connecting with an audience. Is a much more almost like a meaningful experience, I think, for people.
I mean, it's a whole different exchange of energy. The people are right there in front of you. If they hate you, you know right away. If they love you, you know right away. Do you still
I'd like to have the freedom, though, to be sort of a broadcaster in my podcast, and to be a wild and wacky guy in my stand-up, and separate the two.
Yeah, well, you've got the versatility. Do you still find the stuff that you did all those years ago as funny today as you found it then?
Yeah, some of it I can't believe I did, to be honest with you.
Join the club.
I mean, the YouTube and the internet resurgence of a lot of my old videos has been so much fun, because you know, at the time when the show came out, it was also technically very sort of new. It wasn't just the strange, weird absurdity of what I was actually doing on camera, but also just the idea of going out with a camera on the street and doing the pranks on the street with real people with a small video camera was very new. But I do think that a lot of the outrageous material does really sort of hold up and stand the test of time. And I've got a lot of new fans on YouTube and on Instagram who are catching the old material for the first time, young people who've never seen it before, who are really enjoying it all again for the first time. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe I should put some of my old stuff up online. I've been kind of hesitant because...
I was saying that to you earlier. You should put your stuff up. You know, all those great interviews with Christina Aguilera and Coldplay, you were telling me, and all these huge...
Yeah, Beyonce.
Beyonce. And I had to
still remember she smelled really good.
I'm sure Beyonce smelled a lot better than you did.
I don't know. I smelled pretty good that night. It was an MMVA.
Okay.
So do you find now, you mentioned the internet, there's a lot of people out there doing zany things, but they're not, like, kind of brainless. Your stuff always had a point to it, and it was planned. Now there's a lot of people just eating detergent, licking toilet seats and stuff like that. And do you ever find that there's people who say, well, you know, Tom, you know, do we really need that Tom Green now? Because we've got all these people doing it on the internet.
You know, I think that the youth of today have such an unbelievable resource that we didn't have when we were growing up, with this instant access to the entire world. And I love to see young people go out there and just express their creativity. And when you're young, you know, you don't even necessarily always think about what the point is. You just are throwing your energy into things. And to me, that is very entertaining to watch sometimes. So sure, there's a lot of stuff on the internet that's not good, but there's also a lot of stuff on the internet that's great. So I think, you know, as a viewer, I like to make a point to sort of weed through all of the crap and find the incredible stuff that makes me laugh, and it's exciting.
Well, you were like, you know, you're one of the fathers of the kind of content that's on the internet. And I remember when Weird Al was going to come out with his last album, and people were saying, oh, who needs Weird Al now? Everybody's doing song parodies. And then he comes out, his videos go huge. It's like his best-selling album ever, because the original, like if you go to a store and Coca-Cola and store brand cola are cost the same, people are going to buy the Coca-Cola. And I mean, he was the master. So the idea that just because there's lots of other people doing the same thing that he did doesn't mean that they're doing it as well. And I think that's the same thing with yourself. And, you know, a lot of other people who are originals, just because there's lots of other people who are doing stuff that's similar doesn't mean that they're doing it as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about the internet is it's a truly democratic, you know, medium. I mean, the cream will rise to the top, and if you're funny, or if you're doing something polished that's great, or that's catching people's attention, you know, nobody can touch you. It'll just grow and grow and grow, and people will watch, and you'll find your audience. And as independent voices, where you don't have the overhead of a big television network and all of that stuff, you really just have to have a really hardcore, solid foundation of fans to really create a really amazing career for yourself. And I know you're launching your new television network, the FU network, and you'll find a really great supportive group of fans, and it'll be awesome. I just do my thing, and you do your thing, and you will find a great audience that will come to you.
Well, you're much more positive about the kind of crap that's on the internet and the democratization of video than I am, because I just think that, you know, you said if you're doing something good, you'll get a large audience. No, a lot of people are doing stupid things like, hey, look at my sneakers. Look how many sneakers I got. And they get 1 million views. Like, it's so freaking random. There's people there that are just freaking lucky. A lot of the people on the internet who got really, really popular are just freaking lucky, because there's millions of other people doing the same thing. Somehow, lightning struck and they managed to get successful. And then they're gone again in a year. Whereas you and I have been going for years.
I've always looked at success, and somebody told me this once, and I forget who it was. But it resonated with me. If you look at a triangle, and each corner of the triangle had a piece of the puzzle that you need for success. On one corner is hard work. You need to work hard. Another corner is raw talent. And the top corner is luck. If you have two of those things, talent, hard work, and luck, if you have two of those three things, you'll be successful. So you can be the least talented person in the world, but you work really hard and you've got some luck, you'll make it. You could be the most talented person in the world and work really hard and have no luck and you'll make it. Or you could be the most talented person in the world and not work hard at all, but have luck and you'll make it. So two of those three things and you're guaranteed to make it, I believe. So as long as the one thing that you can control, okay, is how hard you work, okay? You can't control whether or not you get luck. You can't control whether or not you have natural talent, although working hard will actually turn into talent because as you work hard, you learn and you get better at your craft.
Unless you were shit to begin with, and sometimes you can't polish a turd.
So, then you need the luck. But if you work hard, I say, if you work hard and you have a little luck or you have a little talent, good things will come to you. And I know you're very talented and I know you work very hard. So I know your network is going to be a very big success.
Hey, listen, Tom, I have a proposal for you. I think it'll go big here in Canada. You and me doing like a TV series version reboot of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I love it.
You could be
Those
like...
are pillows.
Yeah, exactly. Or doing one of those buddy films like they used to do in the 80s where somehow we're on the run because we were named as criminals or mistakenly or there was evil twins. Come on, the Canadian film industry would eat it up. Of course, we wouldn't make any money because nobody does in Canadian film. But maybe Netflix Canada, come on, the two of us together. How could people turn away?
I think it's impossible to turn away from that. Let's do it.
We'll have to talk about it afterwards. Well, I want to thank you for the time. Looking forward to continuing to listen to your podcast. Where can people find your podcasts?
It's called the Tom Green Podcast. And so you can find it anywhere you find podcasts, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, on iTunes, and all of the stuff. So you just go on Google and Google in quotes, the Tom Green Podcast. It'll bring you to a whole bunch of links. And on TomGreen.com.
All right, also on TomGreen.com. Well, everybody should listen. Tom, you are a Canadian legend. I respect the fact that you did your own thing and you didn't let anybody tell you they couldn't do. And I will forever love you for dumping that dead raccoon in front of Mike Bullard. You're in my will, thanks to that. But don't get too excited. I'm still here in Canadian entertainment, so my will actually probably just leave you debts. But I'll apportion really small debts to you. So enjoy the studio, and I'm going to lose sleep tonight over those damn latex things.
Well, they did their job then. I like it. Perfect.
Are there more than those two in the house?
Just those two.
Don't do that. I don't even like styrofoam wig heads. Do they have names?
There's Larry as well. There's Larry, my friend Larry, sitting over here.
Ventriloquist dummy?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, man. Did you see Anthony Hopkins in Magic?
I'm surprised, actually, that Larry hasn't met you, Ed. Hey, Ed, hey, Larry, you want to say hi?
Oh,
say hi
no.
This guy, that's Ed the Sock. He's very famous. Yeah, I know Ed the Sock. Hey, Ed, how are you? Yeah,
I'm good. This is like a white Willie Tyler and Lester.
Yeah. This guy's great. Yeah.
Oh, you've got the kind who you can move his eyes too, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I move them on my own. He moves his mouth. Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, your eyes move on your own. See, these things freak me out. Not as much as I hate marionettes. Marionettes should be banned by the Geneva Convention. Come on. First the latex heads and now the ventriloquist dummy in my face.
We don't do the show.
Oh, I'm not going to sleep. Okay. Thank you very much for that fright. Tom, enjoy yourself there. And people should look for the Tom Green Podcast. And hopefully we'll talk again in the future. And maybe you and I will go, when this all gets better, we'll go pitch Netflix, the Netflix Canada. They can't say no.
Absolutely. Who could? Okay, amazing. Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. That damn dummy's scaring me still. Hey, did you enjoy that sock talk with Tom Green? We know what they say. Don't applaud, just throw money. We're giving you the kind of programming the big guys won't give you. Stuff that's real, authentic, and in the moment, as opposed to all that focus group, stage managed, rehearsed crap. So if you want to help us keep going, become a patron on patreon.com/FUNetworkTV. Subscriptions start at just $1 a month. Come on, that's nothing. Or if you don't want to subscribe, you just want to give us a one-time boost, go to PayPal and send it to us courtesy of our email address, funetworktv@gmail.com. And if you don't, well, don't come complaining to me when all you got on TV is Ben Mulrooney 24 hours a day. Aloha.